taken lane out of darkness. We will stay.
Welcome to our show. Together we serve. Welcome to our show. Sit back and enjoy. We will talk with people about their stories. With our host, Ramona. We're ready to start. Together we serve. Together we serve. Together we serve. Together we serve. Welcome to our show. Together we serve. Welcome to our show. Sit back and enjoy.
A man upstairs put something in my head every morning while I'm working out in the gym. That's my space that I get to just think freely and create, and something in that workout is gonna strike me to talk to somebody. It's never planned, it's never prompted, it's never rehearsed. If I stumble on my words, that's what it's gonna be on. Although I very rarely do, thanks to my earlier hip-hop days. And
Welcome, everyone. Together We Serve TV show. It's a gorgeous Friday. I'm so excited you all come to watch and listen, and I'm super excited. If you caught that first little video, I'm going to ask my guest all about it, but it's Make It Extraordinary. Gentleman's name is Isaac. He's 20 years old. Just learned to start singing a year and a half ago in church. He just came back. He's in Northern California. He just got flown out to Dallas, Texas to do a concert. Let's think about this. A year and a half ago, he's 20 years old. He's been in a wheelchair his whole life. And now he's singing across the country. And he's got other gigs he's going to do. I want you to think about, is that extraordinary? Let's bring our guest on. Jacob, welcome to the show.
hey, how's it going, Steve?
Fantastic. I saw you in the back, smiling a little bit. Tell me what you thought about that video.
Man, it was, hit the heart, like I tell people all the time, you think you deal with you're dealing with this struggle or that struggle, and there's so many people in this world that are dealt so many rough cards, and the amazing and extraordinary things that they do with them. You got no excuses.
No. So circumstances shouldn't hold us back from, because everybody can be extraordinary, right?
Everybody.
So it's not like a skill like doing math and accounting or putting plumbing in a house. That's a skill you got to learn. You got to learn this, but everybody has the ability to do this.
Everybody has the ability to do it in some way, shape, or form. You can be an extraordinary spouse. You can be an extraordinary father, mother, parent, sibling, team member, boss, right? Friend. It's just putting forth that extra effort, putting forth more effort than the ordinary effort. That's what makes something extraordinary.
What's my result when I'm extraordinary? What's my ROI, my benefit? You can't hear me? How about now?
Lost you.
How about now? Can you hear me? This is what happens when you have technology. Let me leave and come back.
Check. Technical difficulties, bear with us.
And I'm back. Is it working?
There we go.
Hey, a little technology. I love it. Live and in action. So
I used to do hip hop shows in my earlier days. In early 20s, I had a hip hop career, and there was never a fail. There was always some sort of technical difficulty right before a show. It never failed. It was always.
well, that leads to a great question. Can we be extraordinary and still fail?
Of course, it's kind of almost impossible not to be extraordinary without failing, right? How you gonna do something extra? How you gonna do things you've never done? How you gonna put forth these extra efforts without stumbling somewhere along the lines, right? Like, to be truly extraordinary, you're gonna have to fail. You have to fail often.
Yeah, that's powerful because we're not perfect. God didn't make us perfect and all that. We'll get into that. But when I first met you, you told me your company name was Extraordinary Flooring. So you not only speak about it and mentor people about it, you live it through your business. Why that company name?
Well, I mean, it was brought to me. It didn't start that way. It was Big Jake's Affordable Flooring was the original name, and I was fighting and struggling and striving to try to get some good flooring work, and I was getting those affordable looking customers and those affordable jobs. And one day, doing a pickup job with my old boss that taught me the flooring trade, I had an aha moment, and it changed to make it extraordinary. And when it changed, it was a mindset shift. And even him, he was like, "Oh, I don't know, that might be a little too much." And I was like, "It didn't matter. This is what it's going to be. It's going to be extraordinary flooring, and this is what we're going to do. This is what we're going to provide." And almost like instant, like I put it into the ether. Within 6 months, that's what we were doing. We were doing nothing but extraordinary projects. We were doing high-end $1 million mansions, super cool things that were like pushing the envelope, pushing our skill levels. And it changed my mindset. It changed my mottos, changed the way that I live today, and it's something that happened so long ago, and it just kept cascading and rolling and rolling and transforming and morphing into more than just a flooring motto, but a way of life.
Well, I love what your partner, the person that told you that about extraordinary. Hey, I don't know if you can go there. God, that's a pretty big ask or message. Because I've had people tell me after our podcast, and we had a very successful podcast that we recorded. It's like, I love that idea, but I don't want to be egotistical or narcissistic saying I'm extraordinary. Talk about that, because I don't think it goes there.
Like, I didn't even second guess it. I didn't even think it. I don't even remember using the word extraordinary before that moment. It was sent to me, and I'm gonna tell you, it was sent to me by God. It was my inner conscious, and it was aha, and it wasn't even a question. I didn't question it. I had full belief in myself. Maybe he was like, "Oh, it's a little too much." And yeah, I was, 20 something year old kid, just started a business, didn't do any truly extraordinary flooring yet, but I had utmost confidence in myself. Like, this wasn't even a question. I followed my gut, I followed my heart, I followed my soul, and off to the races. Let's go.
Well, I love that because that's what Together We Serve our business, our show. Did it happen again?
I lost you. I lost your audio again. Sorry, I didn't
How
hear
about
the
now?
question.
Am I back?
No.
No? All right, I'll be right back. Love it. Well, the good thing about that, still can't hear me? All right.
Unfortunately, no.
How about now? Still can't hear. Let's work on a little detail here. Hold on. How about now? Can you hear me? Okay, test 1, 2, 3. Should be working now. Well, you can't hear me, huh?
Nothing.
Saying it's working. Let me leave again.
It happens when you switch. When you've switched, that's when it's happened.
How about now? You leave, come back. Test 1, 2, 3. Test.
Check.
How about now?
Okay, no.
Why don't you leave and come back? Hit the leave the studio.
You want me to back out?
Yeah. How about now?
I can hear you.
Yeah, I just won't leave.
Yeah, every time you switch, that's when it's been happening.
So let's do this. I got this other question I think is a great question. How does your personal mission, make it extraordinary, influence your business practices? Because I think life and business go together. They're not balanced, but they go together.
I believe I'm one of the few that's truly blessed. I mean, maybe I'm not one of the few, but I don't think that all businesses are as blessed to have that as a business model and a life model at the same time. I feel like I'm one of the lucky ones. I feel like I'm blessed to have that. When we're recruiting and we're, interviewing new candidates for the team, it's like, look, I'm going to tell you our core values. I'm going to tell you all of this stuff. This isn't what I'm just expecting you to do on a job site. This is what I'm expecting you to do in life. Like, I don't want you to just come here and kill work. I want you to crush your life, right? And this is not just my business model. This is my life model. And I don't believe there's too many businesses that get that, right? There's this a big disconnection from most people's personal way of life and then their business model, their business core values, right? So I feel like I'm truly lucky and blessed to have this, and I'm trying to use it to my fullest extent.
We all want to be successful. You mentioned it, success. Your team helps you be successful. How does being extraordinary build more success for your business?
Well, it's definitely becoming a personal brand. It's a life model. It's going to be a brand that I plan on building upon continuously, and I do plan on it evolving into more than flooring. I do plan on it evolving into other business partnerships and ventures. So, eat it, sleep it, live it, breathe it, walk it, talk it, right? So I feel like it's only going to continue to snowball. It's only going to continue to grow. And the beautiful thing is it's just coming. It's just been given to me, and it's coming out naturally. I don't have to force it. I'm not putting on a show. I'm not, trying to be something that I'm not. Like, I'm so blessed that this is just what's God's given me, and he's made it part of my talents, and he's made it what my life is turning into. And I feel like I'm just truly lucky to have that happen. Like, I didn't force it. I didn't rack my brain. I wasn't even looking for a new name for my business. It just came to me, right? And that business name was not supposed to be my life's motto. That wasn't a word I used all the time. It wasn't my favorite word, right? So all of this stuff is just, it's being put in my life. I'm listening to my gut and my soul, and I'm rolling with it, and I'm having fun watching it grow.
Well, I'm watching the Last Dance Netflix movie about Michael Jordan. Okay, you know what I'm talking about.
I love that. Oh man, I watched it a couple times.
Okay, I'm fired up. I just got done working out watching it, so we're on the same wavelength. But here's the crazy thing. You're Michael Jordan the GOAT. I'm Michael Jordan the GOAT, because we can all be extraordinary. He just did it in basketball. But what did he do? He worked hard.
It's the ethic, and same thing, who was his predecessor? Mamba mentality, Kobe Bryant, right? He seen it and he took it to another level, but it was just a relentless pursuit of excellence, a relentless pursuit of trying to win, and relentless goes back to their coach, right? Tim Grover, right? Relentless. They were relentless. They never stopped. It was not enough, and they eyes on the prize, focused. And I can say I've got some of that. I don't have it at the same level they do. They're just superstars in what they did,
Well,
and how they did it.
Yeah, and I love that you're saying that, but I think we're at that. I'm going to be talking about myself humbly because, and I don't like to do this, but I know I'm extraordinary. I know you are. We've talked enough, but they're extraordinary in basketball. Me and you, I know me couldn't be on 5A. I would never be extraordinary, but you're extraordinary in mentoring people, bringing that out of them. I'm extraordinary by connecting people. I hear it all the time. So people, an audience, I should say, people, there you are, people. What Jacob's saying, I love, is that we all can be extraordinary in our own way, right?
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. Not only be extraordinary in our own way, but live extraordinary in our own way. Like feel extraordinary in our own way. What feels extraordinary to me is not exactly what feels extraordinary to you, right? So it is, and that's part of my mission is breaking this word down, because so many people think you have to be a Michael Jordan or a Kobe Bryant to be extraordinary. You don't. You don't. Those are the Mount Everest, right? Those are the creme de la creme, the 1 in 10 millions, right? Or even more. But you don't have to be that to be or feel extraordinary.
And you mentioned Mamba, which I love too. He's probably one of my favorite athletes. They're showing us the way. Do we get to the mountain? Probably not. But if we follow their path, extraordinary things will happen.
On our own mountain. Our own mountain. We get our own views.
See? This guy's amazing. You blow me away. You come up with this great stuff. Speaking of great stuff, I got to talk about this before the show's over. Over your left shoulder is success. I don't know if you found it or you came up with it. Kind of can see it. Go over that because it ties into extraordinary.
I wish I could verbatim it back there. My memory doesn't work as well, but I'm always looking for those, just those things to keep me motivated. My motivational playlist is full of the Mamba mentality kind of breakdowns, right? Where they'll just use all the little clips, right? So every little thing, but a big part of that success is breaking it down strategically and staying 100% dedicated to it, right? And never turn your back into the show, right? I'd love to just spout it off by head, but it's about strategically seeing that vision. And that's part of what I teach is like, you can't go after a goal that you don't envision, right? You have to have that goal, have that vision, right? And then now you strategically start breaking down those processes that are going to get you there, right? What are the steps you need to make? What are the changes you need to make? And then step by step, breaking it down into different little pieces, right? So, that's what the premise of that is behind me. I don't know it verbatim, but I know how it break it down, right? And it's first you have to envision that goal, and then you start breaking down the steps that you need to make to get there.
It's powerful. Well, part of Kobe Jordan is this: grit and resilience. They had it in spades, because I've watched the Dream Team video on Netflix where Kobe was up at 5 o'clock and the other guys were coming home from the bar and he's walking over in the elevator. You've seen it then.
Yeah, he's iced
Talk
up,
about grit.
He's soaking wet, right? They just coming in from Vegas partying or wherever they were at partying. And this guy's got 3 hours in on him already. And they're going to try to sleep for 2 hours before they wake up and go to practice. He'll probably get another workout and he'll do something else before they even get to the gym, right? He'll beat them there too, just a different mentality, just a completely different mentality. And that's why he was one of the greatest. You know, you put him. I always got to leave Jordan up there because I believe Kobe would never be who Kobe was without Jordan, and I think he would say the same thing. So even if Kobe had some moves on him, that's what evolution does, right? But without the predecessor, without the example, without that first GOAT, Kobe would have never been Kobe.
I say GOAT and GOAT A. Just a little bit less. How's grit and resilience in your life changed you?
You know, a couple words my grandpa instilled in me: work ethic and determination, right? Are very, very similar in grit and resilience, right? So 2 words that, or 3 words that he instilled into me is work ethic and determination. He said, Jake, with work ethic and determination, you can achieve anything. And he told me that, and he would tell me with that grit and resilience. My grandpa was a wartime Navy diver. This guy was in the war, diving down, disassembling or planting bombs. You never got too specific about it, right? In the middle of some ocean somewhere in the dark. And talk about grit and resilience, right? And balls of steel to be able to do something like that. And this guy said, with work ethic and determination, you can achieve anything, and don't let nobody stop you. And he just like, I don't have any tattoos on my body, but that's one that should be on there, you know?
Yeah.
Because it's tattooed into my brain, it's tattooed into my soul. And that guy put it into me. And talk about grit, that guy had grit.
What's his name?
Gordon Graham.
Gordon Graham. Well, shout out to you. He's probably not around anymore. But he's up. I'm sure he's looking down at you and so proud of you. And, you know, here's the other thing. When you tell me that story, it gave me goosebumps because he raised his hand to do it. Didn't have to do it, but he said, hey, I want to disassemble and assemble bombs in dark waters where I can't see. And that to me is grit and resilience as well, just to say yes.
The funny story behind that, in the sign-up process of the Navy, he was going to get an extra $20 a week to do that.
$20 a week. Holy
big money
mackerel.
back then, big money, but $20 a week, and he signed up for that one. You know, like, I don't know, Grandpa. I'm glad you did it. I'm glad you're still here, but man.
That's not a lot of incentive to raise your hand to assemble bombs and disassemble bombs in the dark.
Yeah, in the middle of the ocean during the war.
So you got a book, right? You got a book out, right? It's called Make It Extraordinary.
Yes, sir.
What inspires you? What gave you the idea, the motivation to go, I got to get a book out there?
Once again, listening to my heart, listening to my soul, listening to the man upstairs. For those who believe or don't believe, I do. He said, write a book. You know, like this, I wasn't planning on it. This wasn't no long-term thing. It was like, write a book. And as fast as I was like jogging or something one day, and it was like, write a book. And I literally started thinking about, all right, what you gonna write a book about? What are the things? What can you write a book about? Most people, I'd say a lot of people write books and they're maybe in their 50s or older or something like that, you know. And I was just before my 40th birthday, and I was like, you need to put down, what are the things that change your life? What are the lessons that you learned that changed your life, gave you different direction, or put you on a different path that, you know, good, bad, or ugly, you know, put you in some way, shape, or form where you are today, right? And so I started picking out those lessons, picking out all of those life-changing lessons in my life, and one by one just started putting them down. I didn't have any start or stop number in my head. It was like, what are the ones that change your life, you know? And I started putting them down, and it ended up on 27. So 27 life-changing lessons to help you elevate beyond the ordinary, you know. And it's a lot of my story, a lot of my struggles, my mentors. Like so it was so important to me to pay homage to the mentors that taught me those lessons, you know, because, without them, some of the ones that are just put in my life, I was blessed to have in my life, whether they were family or friends or this, that, and the other, right? Those are in there. And then the ones that I had to reach out and make those connections, or I paid to get in those rooms and make those connections, and follow them and just did what I had to do to get connected and get in their ecosphere and learn from them and watch them and follow them. And now those are the guys that, the guys that inspired me when I was young, they've got me where I got, right? But now I have to look up and look forward and look for those new mentors, and who am I looking forward to emulate and follow and make some of those moves and study their moves and learn from their mistakes and learn from their wins, right? So, paying homage to those mentors, early mentors, during mentors, and now mentors.
What are one or two of your favorite lessons that you put in the book?
Profit
I want to give them the
first.
whole book. I want to give them a couple to tease them to your favorites, because they should read all 27.
Another Grandpa Gramp lesson: pay yourself first. Coincides with this is something he taught me my whole life, and and especially as I started becoming an entrepreneur and have my own business, like pay yourself first, and at the time it's like, how, Grandpa? I got to pay everybody else first. I'm actually the one last. And he's like, I know. He's like, listen to me. Learn. You got to figure out how to do it, right? And he'd tell me how he would used to do it. You just got to put that little bit aside, right? Well, come 20 years into my journey, and I pick up a book called Profit First, Mike Michalowicz, right? Great author, great business author. I really got a bunch of great books, but my favorite one is Profit First. And it basically reiterated what my grandpa was telling me. And it reiterated the basic system that our grandparents used, which is kind of like the envelope system. Grandpa comes home with the check. Grandma's got like 5 or 6 envelopes, one for the mortgage, one for the food, one for the little savings, one for the little, date night out, right? So they got the envelope system. Well, that's the Profit First system, and you're breaking in those checks. Every check that comes in is getting broken into these little pies. Instead of just going into the one big bank account that flies in and flies out, you start putting these things into smaller denominations, and it really helped change the way the cash flowed in my business, right? So it was a big cash flow deal, and helped me really get back on top of finances in my business. So as far as a business lesson goes, that's definitely one of my favorite lessons.
And that's a great lesson, because you're right that you said earlier, everybody says you got to pay everybody first, pay yourself last. Bullpucky. What he's saying is not, you made $10,000 this month, take $9,900 to put in your pocket. It's pay Steve, then pay your employees, then pay your marketing team, and da-da-da. Include yourself in the profit, right? Not
exactly.
I'll pay myself, because people do that for all the entrepreneurs all the time. Hey, I'm not going to take money for 10 months. How are you going to live?
You got to take a slice. You slice that thing up, right? And then now you're divvying up. And if you're doing that slicing and there ain't anything left, or it's not enough to cover the pie, then guess what that means? That means you need to raise your prices. You're not there. You're not charging. You're bringing in money, but you ain't making any profit, right? So it's a quick way to find out, like, hey, something's got to change. Prices got to go up, because the pie ain't dividing enough. There ain't enough slices to go around. So that means, you gotta raise them prices.
Yeah, and you can also look at expenses. I'm paying too much for my marketing, and my paying too much here, and it just really, data is just king. Data like that is just powerful.
Into they're hand in hand with the other lesson that I teach when I'm talking to young business entrepreneurs. It's know your numbers. You have to know your numbers, not just in your business, but in your life, right? So many people think, all right, I got these numbers, right? Maybe I know X amount of numbers for my business and X amount for my personal life. But they don't have all the little things that are not added. They got the big main staples, but then they're not paying attention to all of those little things, right? So you need to know your numbers, and you can be like, all right, well, this dollar figure covers marketing, it covers the employees, it covers the insurance, it covers this, but it doesn't cover what your life expenses are. And guess what? Who else is going to pay for it? you. So that means you got to put it, you got to know your personal numbers too and charge for that, you know, and whatever that
Yeah.
is. You may be a young entrepreneur that doesn't have a lot of bills. Great. You know, but guess what? The more money you make, the more bills you're gonna have. So you better start putting that in there already. You know, just because you can live off of this now, you're not gonna live off of it in 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, even if you live modestly, right? It's called inflation, right? Everything's going up. It's always going up. So if you're not building in that profit margin to cover your own life expenses, then you're not making enough.
You're in deep doo-doo. And it's funny talking to, I mentor entrepreneurs like you do. And, you know, some go, "How was the last time you looked at your bank account?" "Oh, it's been about 10 months. I'm like, "What?" You can't do that. "Well, I know there's money in there. I just know I give my debit card. No. That's so I'm glad you said that, because I know people listening are going, "Yeah, that's me. Yeah, I don't check my numbers at all. Check them at least once a month, right?"
No. I mean, at least, right? I like to look at them every day. You know, I don't look at them at night. I like to look at them every day. You know, just a little peek. You know, everything's going right. You know, at least weekly. You know, you got to know what that cash flow is. I especially in your business, you got to know what's coming in. You got to know what's going out. You got to know what you're bringing in and what's going out. Right. I want to see that. I got a dashboard. Right. I got a dashboard that knows what my business is doing. And it's telling me all of the key metrics that's going on in my business. So I know if something's starting to go off, you know, we can make those things. You know, we can make those adjustments, those changes. You know, how many people do their numbers at the end of the year and like it's too late to make any changes at the end of the year. Like that's gone, right? It's done. But if you have a dashboard and you are paying attention to those key metrics in your business, now you can see, all right, well, you know, estimates have fallen off, or the landed projects have fallen off, or the revenue we're generating is not where it's at, you know. So if you're not paying attention to that stuff, you know, it's too late. It's gone. So especially in your business, you know, maybe if you know you got, you know, your personal money's in there and you're pretty consistent on your spends, that's one thing. But like business, I like to know what that thing's going on. You know, I like to have my finger on the pulse of that.
What you don't know, and that's dangerous.
Yeah, and you don't know it until you do, you know. So, but you got to learn. You either learn it the hard way, or you get a good mentor that teaches you before it's too late, right? So, I call them the easy lessons, the hard lessons, and the expensive lessons, right? Easy ones just kind of fall in your lap. Somebody's teaching you, your uncle, your big brother, your friend, like, oh, you better pay attention to that, right? And then the hard lessons, like, oh shit, I messed up. You know, I messed up, so I need to not do that again. That's a hard lesson, right? And then the expensive ones, you know, you pay to get in those right rooms, you pay to get those mentors, and those mentors start guiding you, and they start seeing things before you even knew. You didn't know, right? You didn't know, but he's been there. He's done that already, right? So he can tell you, he can guide you, and if you pay attention and you follow that path that he's trying to put out in front of you, you can avoid those pitfalls that so many of us have made. And right, we talked about it earlier. There's almost no way to get to these elevated levels without learning some lessons the hard way.
Amen. And don't recreate the wheel. My dad used to say, somebody's done it, just copy and paste. And I'm more welcome. You're more welcome. Hey, here's some things I've learned. I'm 63. Take it and run with it. Don't be afraid to give out your stuff that you've learned, because that's what being extraordinary is. Let's take a break here. I'm going to play a nice little video we did on our podcast that really exemplifies you. Okay. Some people listening say, this sounds great, Jacob, but describe that feeling of when you're extraordinary. What does that feel like? What's the emotion like?
Well, to me, I tell people that it's to me, if I broke it down into 4 key elements: health, wealth, relationships, and purpose. And you can have little bits of all of them and feel fine and feel great, you know, and feel, you know, have your highs and lows. You can be doing really well in 1 or 2 of them and doing not so well in the other 2, and have what looks on the outside an extraordinary life, but what feels like on the inside a horrible life, right? And then to me, when you were able to tie in all four of those together and have them running optimally in your life and your family's life, that's the feeling of extraordinary. That's when you can't knock the smile off of your face, right? You can have a bad day and it still won't phase you, because everything else is going right, And so I say when you're able to put all four of those key elements in place and optimize those in your life, that's the key to feeling extraordinary.
So if
Inspiration and motivation a lot of times are very temporary. What we want to make in this world is transformations. When we make transformations in ourselves, we start transforming others around us. And that to me is such an extraordinary. Every time I feel that, every time I know that I inspire and I change some other lives, it gives me goosebumps. That's better than any feeling of monetary. It's like I see that life change happen, and that's a transformation, not just an inspiration, not just a motivation, but a transformation. So especially since we're talking about end of the year, we got these New Year's resolutions. Everybody's going to hit the gym for 30 days, right? Don't hit the gym for 30 days. Don't read half a book because this is my new thing. And then by February, we're right back to square one. Don't just be motivated and inspired to change something. Be transformed, be transformational, transform your life. Do something that changes it forever. Man, that was some pretty good stuff there.
That was really good stuff. Can you hear me?
I can.
Beautiful. I think we fixed it. But
all right.
I love that video. I found it while we're in our break. I'm like, I got to play that because I talk about in sales, transformational, not transactional. You took it even deeper because you're a smart dude and you're a great guy. Talk about the depth of that with being extraordinary. How about transforming and transformation?
Well, transactional. Let's call it going to the gym once or twice. Or like in context of that conversation, January, like so many do, that New Year's resolution that lasts less than a month or however long that lasts, right? A couple transactions in the gym didn't really transform anything, right? But when somebody makes a life transformation, and they and whatever makes that, whether it be a health scare or just wanted to change that, right? So like myself, this is part of the reason that just tied in those four pillars that we talked about in the previous video. The start of that, I had a lot of good things going on with the rest of my pillars, but the health was the one that was lacking. And when I changed that it transformed everything that was going on in my life. And when you make those transformations, they start transforming the people around you. And that's when it really gets fun and it really gives you goosebumps. And when you want to talk about feeling good, it's like, all right, you changed your life. You're gonna feel good, you know? When changing your life starts changing other people's lives, it's extraordinary. That's that extraordinary feeling that you get, like they were struggling and they got inspired by what I did and they changed their life. They transformed their life. And because they've done it, they're going to inspire somebody else. And it keeps going and going and going. That's transformational. That is extraordinary.
We won't end the show. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Thumbs up? Yeah. We won't end the show here. We should end the show here, but we're not going to because there's more to talk about, because that is exactly it. We can make impact and change in people's lives by being extraordinary. It's not being I'm better than all of you because I have a TV show. It has nothing to do with that. I have a TV show to be extraordinary to help you. It's so awesome. So I want to dive into this because you're such a great business guy. What advice would you give someone starting their entrepreneur journey, or, a few years in and struggling maybe?
Well, we touched on the first one. The first one is know your numbers. You can't be successful without knowing your numbers, but know your numbers, know your purpose, know your passion, right? Plenty of people can earn out a living and not be passionate about it, but it doesn't feel great. They're not excited to get up for work. They're not excited to get after it. But if you're passionate for what you do, man, that's exciting, right? Now you're going to work excited. Now how much better is your life that you're excited to go to work? How many people are in this world are miserable and dread going to work? How much does that affect their life? How could their life feel extraordinary if you dread something that you got to do more than 60% of your life, which is work, right? So if you're passionate about what you do every day, man, now that's part of one of those keys, that's part of one of those purposes. I'm passionate about what I do. I get to change lives. I get to, whatever that part is, my clients never have a foggy or rain shattered window because I'm the best and most passionate window washer there is out here, and I'm changing lives because my clients love me. They love the attitude that I bring about it, right? So that's one of the things I put in my book. It's like, when you're passionate about what you do, I feel that anybody can bring that thing and make it extraordinary. Like I mentioned in the book that I've seen like garbage men that just like, they just got a smile on their face and they've got a rhythm how they throw up the cans and they're just happy. And how many people are miserable with some pretty good jobs? And I'm sitting here watching these garbage men that are just passionate about what they're doing. They're throwing garbage cans, right? So, don't think you gotta have this elaborate job in this 60-story skyscraper, right? Or this to be the leader of this huge team. No, be passionate about what you do, no matter what that is, and find what that is. And it doesn't have to be, look, school teachers, right? We all know that they're underpaid for what they do and how they contribute to the society, but they're passionate about what they do and they're changing lives, right? Like my 7-year-old right now is inspired to be a teacher. Why is she inspired to be a teacher? Because she has an inspiring teacher. She has that teacher that it isn't about the money. It's about the passion she's putting forth into these kids' lives. So be passionate about what you do, and it's going to be hard not to be successful. Like that's, to me, that's one of those factors. If you want to force your way through business on something that you don't really enjoy, it's not going to make your life very good. But if you are passionate about it, man, the sky's the limit.
Yeah, no, it's so powerful. You give me that image of, I don't know if you've seen this, is those window washers that go up those huge buildings, and the guys that do the hospitals for children, and they dress up as superheroes. Batman.
Yes.
That's the image that came to me, is what you're saying. How much they're making, I don't think they care, but you could tell that they're, I'm going to get emotional here, because you could see they had a bad day. They've had a blood transfusion or a bunch of shots or been whatever, MRIs. And there's this guy cleaning his window, high-fiving the kid. That's extraordinary, isn't it?
Man, it gives me goosebumps.
It does, doesn't it?
And that's part of my message. It's like, you don't, like, there's so many ways to be extraordinary in this world, and it doesn't require this extreme talent. It doesn't require this extreme amount of success. You can change lives, and you can put forth that or put forth that extra effort into ordinary things, and that's what makes it extraordinary. How many regular window washers are gonna sit there with a bad mood and this and that, and you got this guy or girl or whoever it is in a Superman costume, and just, he's passionate about what he does. He knows he's putting smiles on that face. You know, he knows he's changed something in that little kid's life, even if it's just for the 5 minutes that he's in front of there. And that's what I'm talking about. It doesn't take much to put forth extra effort into something that you do.
God, I love that you said that. Little effort, big return.
Wow.
They just put on a Batman costume. They do their regular job, but just taking that, changing their clothes for one day and doing the effort of just interacting with those kids. We go on all day with that. But somebody just sent this question in, and I'm excited to hear your answer. How do you measure, because we've talked about success with extraordinary, and that's important in life. We have to be successful. That's what extraordinary people are. But how do you measure that in both your business and personal life?
Well, it goes back to me. It goes to defining what you want in your life. What is going to make you feel extraordinary? What are those things? So if you can envision all of that, and you can put all that together in a picture, and then you can achieve that, that is success. And that, what success looks like to me, and what success looks like to you, and what success looks like to the person to the left and the right of us is completely different. But what that version is, and not that they're just happy being whatever God, no, they had a vision, they defined it, and they carved their life out, and it's what they wanted, not just where they landed, but what they wanted. That's success.
You know, I'm going back to that window. Their definition of success is wearing a Batman costume and high-fiving kids. Somebody else might be, I want to own 20 homes and 5 boats. Not me, but again, it's defined differently by everybody, and we can't judge that. But don't try to copy other people. I want to be like Elon Musk and put up a missile up in, or a spaceship in the air and bring it back. You could go for your dream and go for that, but that doesn't mean if you don't get there, you're not successful, right?
If you still want it and you don't quit, you're chasing your dream. You're living on your terms. You're living where you want to be. You are focused on that. Maybe you never hit that rocket, but maybe you die trying. And that's still a success to me. That guy lived his life the way he wanted to live his life. And if you quit and that's your dream, and you're gonna live and sulk and know that I quit and this and that, and I'll never be happy, then that's not success, right? But you chase that thing to your deathbed. You didn't hit it, but you lived life on your means, and you were chasing after your dream. That's still success to me.
Well, Jacob, you've shown extraordinary is powerful for anybody. So, name of the book, and where can people get that book?
Name of the book, Make It Extraordinary. Best place to go is Amazon. Amazon's got it. Make It Extraordinary, 27 life-changing lessons to help you elevate beyond the ordinary. It's a bunch of short stories. They all got lessons in the beginning of each chapter, ties it in the back of each chapter, little short, quick stories. I call it an airplane read. You take a flight, 2-3 hours, it's done. Boom. It's different than, I'm a self-help book reader. I'm always reading books to try to self-help. And some of them can be pretty boring. Some of them can be pretty mundane, no matter how powerful they are or how good they are, right? Well, I wanted to do something a little different. So I've got these lessons in here that everybody can learn from, everybody can relate to. And it's got some cool stories Like I said, I'm an open book, so I'll go good, bad, and ugly. I've learned my lessons, the good ways and the bad ways and the hard ways, and so I'm from New Orleans. We're from a party city, born and raised. So I got a few wild stories in there, and so it's a quick read. It's entertaining. It's educational. You're gonna pick up something from it. You know, whether you're gonna pick up 15 out of 27 lessons, or whether you're gonna pick up two. You know, most people that are reading to better themselves, you only need one. You only need one that can change something in your life. That who knows what that one little change can do, that leads to the next one and the next one and the next one. So you only need one in any book you pick up to stick with you and make a change. And it's my goal is to help change as many people's lives, no matter how big or small, over my lifetime. And this is the start of my journey for that.
Another fantastic message you put out there. I'm glad you mentioned New Orleans. It's a celebration. I've been at Mardi Gras. I've been there. It's happy people, but we should celebrate being extraordinary. Correct?
Without a doubt, you know. And so, what, you know, before we leave, I tell people this, you know, like, to be called extraordinary is something somebody else gives you. It's something somebody else gives you because of the actions that you're taking and the things that you're doing. And nobody's right or wrong for doing it. If somebody else calls you extraordinary and whatever that talent is, and boom, they called you extraordinary. But to feel extraordinary, that's something that comes from within. The only person that can make you feel extraordinary is you. So what is it going to take for you to feel extraordinary? What changes do you need to make? What growths do you need to go through? You know, what direction do you need to be headed to make yourself feel extraordinary? You know, because that's what really matters, right? As many people call you extraordinary, the better. That's amazing, right? But what really matters is do you feel extraordinary? And when you do feel extraordinary, it's going to go out. It's going to spread around, right? You know, they say misery loves company. Well, so does happiness, you know. Happiness loves company too. So if you're a positive person and you're always looking to do good things and better things and have a positive attitude, people are going to want to be positive around you. You're gonna repel negativity because of your positivity, right? So, you know, that's what I tell people. Like, it starts from within. You know, it's a personal thing. It's a personal direction. It's a personal definition. What is it going to take to make you feel extraordinary? And then you're off to the races from there.
Yeah, I don't know too many happy people that get mad and people try to make them mad. I just think of a baby giggling. If that doesn't make you laugh, then I don't know what will. It's making us laugh just thinking about it. We got a few minutes here, a couple minutes. Got a quick, fun question. So I've reserved a jet for you, a four-seater. You're sitting in one of the chairs, and the other three empty chairs. Who would you invite to fly with you, whether dead or alive, and what destination would you go to?
Let's go both my grandpas, my dad, a four-seater. So it's a man's trip. Got a private jet. We got to go somewhere tropical and party if we've got a jet, and I got all four of them on there. We're gonna go somewhere tropical and party, somewhere I could take fishing off the back of a big boat and kick it in the sand somewhere, you know, away from everything else. Don't need anything else. Just go and kick it with them.
Sounds so relaxing. I'm not a fisherman, but I'm so relaxed thinking about it. That's so cool. 30 seconds. What's the last thing you want to leave the audience?
You have a choice, you know, like there's nothing wrong with people that live ordinary lives, you know, and we've talked about this right now, that it doesn't take this elaborate scheme or talent or money or possessions to live an extraordinary life. It just requires you to define exactly what you're looking for, define exactly what's going to make you feel that way, define exactly what's going to make you feel like a success in your book, and live on your terms and provide what you want to receive in life, right? So it's up to you to get that. Nobody else is going to give it to you. But if you're not going to clearly define what that is to you, you're never going to achieve it. You're just going to just be there. Just be something. No, if you're going to be something, be extraordinary. Whatever that means to you, whatever that talent is for you, whatever that thing is that you know you've got this extra that other people don't have. Find it. Share it with the world. Share it with yourself. Share it with your family. And make it extraordinary.
Thank you, Jacob. What an incredible show. Audience, join me. I'm buying the book as we leave, Make It Extraordinary, on Amazon. I've got the link up while I was listening to my wonderful guest. And we'll see you all next week, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern. Together We Serve TV show. Thank you for watching, and you all have a great rest of the day.